Hello everyone and welcome to Center for Future Technology. Today we will discuss about Python class in object-oriented programming. Topics to be covered are: what is class, how to define Python classes, how inheritance works, Python constructor. What is a class? A class may be a logical grouping of knowledge and functions. Python is an object-oriented programming language. Almost everything in Python is an object with its properties and methods. A class is like an object constructor or a blueprint for creating object. How to define Python classes? Some points we will discuss here. To create a class, use the keyword class. Create a class named myClass with the property named X. To understand the meaning of classes, we have to understand the built-in init function. All classes have a function called init method, which is always executed when the class is being initialized. How to define Python classes? The init method or function is called automatically every time the class is being used to create a new object. How to define Python classes? Python runtime will pass self esteem once you call an occurrence techniques on in case regardless of whether you give it intentionally or not. How to define Python classes? Every Python class keeps following built-in attributes and they can accessed using dot operator like any other attribute. Dictionary containing the class's namespace. Class documentation, string or none if undefined. Class name. Module name in which the class is defined. This attribute main in interactive mode. A possibly empty tuple containing the base classes in other order of their occurrence in the base class list. How inheritance works? Inheritance allows us to define a class that inherits all the methods and properties from another class. Parent class is the class being inherited from, also called base class. Child class is the class that inherits from another class, also called derived class. How inheritance works? Derived class inherits features from the base class where new features can be added to it. This results in reusability of code. How inheritance works? A subclass can add to the structure and behavior that it inherits. It can also replace or modify inherited behavior through not inherited structure. Python inheritance syntax. Derived class inherits features from the base class where new features can be added to it. This results in reusability of code. How inheritance works? The functionality of the parent class method is changes by overriding the same method in the child class. Inheritance is one of the most important concept of OOPS. It provides code reusability, readability and transitions of properties which helps in optimized and efficient code buildings. Python constructors. A constructor is a special type of method or function which is used to initialize the instance member of the class. In Python, the method init simulates the constructor of the class. It accepts the self keyword as a first argument which allow accessing the attribute or methods of the class. Python constructors, we can pass any number of argument at the time of creating the class object depending upon the init definition. It is mostly used to initialize the class attributes. Python constructor. The non-parameterized constructor uses when we do not want to manipulate the values or the constructor that has only self as an argument. Thank you for being with us.